Good evening everyone, Mike Palmer from Know Your Rights Group and Success Coaching International with another live video update. So we have had a lot of very confused people emailing us. It's been getting sort of worse and worse and worse over the last couple of weeks. People are getting very confused, so I wanted to help clear up some of that confusion. So Know Your Rights Group is not a legal service in any way. We're not here to provide you with any kind of legal or financial advice. That's not what we're about. What we're here to do is to share with you our knowledge, our experience and our research into the legal field, into the law, essentially the Commonwealth Constitution and all the laws that stem from that. And we're here to really just share that with you and to try and hopefully pique a little bit of interest, to get you thinking, to get you questioning things. This is the key. I've said it on so many of my videos. Question everything. We want you thinking outside the box. We don't want you following the mainstream narrative anymore. We want you asking constructive, creative questions, and we provide you with the tools on how to do that most effectively. Okay, now we give you court cases, we give you sections of legislation to refer to, we give you a ton of information, but really what we're about here at the Know Your Rights Group is just dropping some little seeds, dropping some little hints, get you thinking, get you researching and finding out and learning about your rights. Now I've had a bunch of people, especially in the last couple of weeks, I don't know why this has happened because I thought I'd been fairly clear on these videos, but a couple of people have emailed us and got, oh listen, I got your Know Your Rights book and I thought there was letters for the fines in there, or I thought there was letters for the banks in there, I can't seem to find them anywhere, okay? That's not what our ebook is all about. So I'm going to quickly, hopefully clarify some confusion and also give you an idea of the real depth and value of the information in this book. So this is our book. This is the Know Your Rights book, the essential step-by-step manual for understanding and exercising your rights. Now I'm just going to give you a couple of ideas of what we cover in this. So first and foremost, chapter 1, it is about fines. We definitely cover information on fines. Okay, but what we do is we go into a little bit more advanced information, I guess. And we explain things like the National Measurement Act. We explain sweep and slip error. We go through various court cases. We go through arguments that you can raise in court, ways to ask questions. We go through a bunch of actual court cases that you can refer to if you end up in court over a traffic fine. So there is obviously the Aussie speeding fines book, which is the detailed step-by-step process. That's the book that has the letters. Okay, I'm going to cover that one in a minute. I want to come back to the Know Your Rights book because there's so much more information in there. But again, if you want the step-by-step process, that is in that blue Aussie speeding fines book. So chapter 2, as you can see, is all about tax. We explain why the ATO is not a legal entity. We refer you to the court cases. We explain to you why the ATO cannot define the word income and will never be able to define the word income. We explain why personal income is voluntary and has always been and will always be. Okay, so that's in our tax chapter. Then we have a chapter on banking. Now, again, this is an introduction to banking. It covers and explains the actual bank fraud, okay, the actual step-by-step process that banks use to create a fraud every single time they engage in a home loan. It also goes through some actual RBA statistics which show you why things just don't add up. Okay, so there's tons of information on the banks and the frauds they commit, but again, if you want the step-by-step process for dealing with banks, for dealing with debt collectors, the actual letters, that's in the Bank Secrets Revealed book. And again, I'll come back to that in a second. All right, so then we move on and then we've got, oh, I've lost my tabs. So then we've got chapter 4, which is all about the Commonwealth Constitution. Now, as we say and have been saying for 6 years on our radio shows, as we explain in our live events, the Commonwealth Constitution, okay, that is the fundamental law in this country. It is the founding law in this country. Every other law must be traceable back to that Commonwealth Constitution. Okay? If it is contrary to the Constitution in any way, shape or form, it is no law at all. Okay, so we cover some important things like Section 51. That's the powers of the Parliament. All right, we go through a bunch of other sections. We talk about sections 81 and 83. This goes back to your ATO, and you'll see all these chapters will all start to link in together, because the ATO will say you have to pay tax, but where do you pay that tax to? Because if that tax doesn't go into consolidated revenue as defined in Section 81 of the Constitution, then that's a fraud again. All right, so these, we give you some really important introductions here. Section 117, we've talked about this on a couple of recent videos with regards to all the Black Lives Matter protests and how some people are being arrested, some people are not. Okay, the subject of a Queen resident in any state shall not be subject to any discrimination or disability if they are a Queen or resident in such other state. Okay, so you can't be discriminated against just because of which state you live in. All right, so all of these things are outlined there. Now, again, while I'm on that, if you want to know the ins and outs of the Commonwealth Constitution, the full explanation of the Commonwealth Constitution, you'll find that on the Quick and Garran Annotated Constitution CD. That is the full annotated version. It is considered by the courts to be the authority on the Commonwealth Constitution. It's accepted by the courts, and they explain all the details of how the Constitution was written, why it was written in that specific way, and you can use the wording and reference specific page numbers and everything from that annotated version in your court cases. Very, very powerful. You'll find that on our products page. All right, so moving along to Chapter 5. Local government. We explain very clearly, okay, pages 935 and 936 of the Quick and Garran Annotated Constitution do indeed refer to local government as a department of a state. Okay, this is something we touched on many, many radio shows. We touched on it again just this week. Okay, local councils are there, but only as a department of state. Now, as a department, they can't make bylaws. They can't lawfully make bylaws. They can't lawfully exponentially increase rates and things like that. So this is a very important chapter. All right, we've also got all the letters that you can send to your local MPs and ask them questions, which of course we explain in that chapter, about the constitutional validity of local councils. This is what we've been talking about on all these videos about bombarding your parliamentarians with questions. There they are. Those are letters that are in our book. Now, each of these books comes with a CD. Ours is called the References CD. So every single letter, every single link, every single video, every single court case, every single website, every single section of legislation that we refer to, we provide you with a copy of that on that accompanying References CD that comes together with the book. Now, if you don't have a CD player, a couple of people email us, I don't have a CD player, we can email you a zip file which contains all of those as well. So you won't miss out at all there. All right. Now we start getting into some of the more complex, complicated arguments. So Chapter 6 talks about law versus legal. We really focus in here on Unidroit and how private law has been unlawfully brought in to the Commonwealth of Australia, overriding common law, which of course it can't lawfully do, but they get away with it because people simply don't know. This is what our book is all about, is about exposing the lies, exposing the hidden agendas that the powers that be don't want you to know. That's why this is so powerful, because once you know what the problem is, once you're aware of it, well, now you're informed and educated, you can do something to change it. If you're not even aware that there's a problem, how are you possibly going to do anything to fix it? All right, now we move into one of the most complex chapters, and that is the straw man chapter. The separation between you, the living, breathing man or woman, and the person that the state has created from that. Okay, some of you who've been around and looked at this information for a while will know the difference between the live birth record and the birth certificate, and how the birth certificate is just a bond and it's traded on the markets and all the rest of it. So it really is a complex topic, but we go into quite a bit of detail and explain how a person is different from a living, breathing man or woman. We explain why any legislation that's out there, any acts and laws can only apply to a person. Okay, we provide actual, here it is here, Rundle versus Delaware and Raritan Canal Company. This is the primary court case that you refer to that dictates that a corporation has no power over the living. These corporate entities cannot have exercise any power over you, a living, breathing man or woman. Okay? So there's tons and tons of info in here. There's examples of birth certificates and live birth records. And again, all of those examples are included on that CD that comes with the book. All right, so now we move on into financial protection. And as you can see here, we cover things like trusts, private foundations, and self-managed super funds. So we explain what they are, we explain the differences between them. A lot of people ask us about private trusts, we talk about those as well. We explain self-managed super funds, and then we have the remainder of the chapter is all about private foundations, operating in the private, unplugging from the corrupt corporate system, and how to do that. That's what that chapter is all about. It's extremely powerful, especially if you want to protect your assets. Now, again, there's a link in the description to the group that we use, and that's Operate in the Private. So their website's operateintheprivate.com. If you want to find out more about those structures, go and have a look at their website. But again, our chapter goes into a lot of detail. Now, probably one of the most popular chapters in our book over the last few months has been our bonus chapter on mandatory vaccinations. All about the no jab, no pay, no jab, no play, mandatory vaccinations to get into, see your elderly parents, all those sorts of things. All of those concepts are covered in that mandatory vaccinations chapter. And again, there are letters, my will letters and things of that ilk that you can send off that you can get straight out of that chapter. So very, very powerful chapter. Okay, and then to finish off, we've got chapter 3, which is, bonus chapter 3, which is court cases. Now, you can see here we give you actual court cases. We explain why those court cases are so powerful. So we break them down into sections. Things like traffic-related cases. Then we've got things like unlawful arrest. Again, this is something that's been very popular at the moment with everything that's going on with the protests. Chapter 3, courts and the validity of acts. People still bleat that, Australia doesn't have any rights because we've got no Bill of Rights. Yeah, we absolutely do. And there's court cases that explain where that Bill of Rights comes from and why it's absolutely still valid today. Okay, we've got things like trespass cases. Okay, again, you want to stop the police, you want to stop anyone, the sheriff's officers, things like that coming onto your property. There's some really powerful cases there. So this is the Know Your Rights book. It's the black book. Okay, and you'll find it on our website, which is knowyourrightsgroup.com.au. So that's what's contained in that book. And as I said, it does come with the references CD with all of those letters and everything on it. Now, if you want to go a step beyond, if you want to go further than that, this is the new Freedom of Information CD that we've got. This has a whole bunch of freedom of information responses from places like the Attorney General's Department, explaining why there is no head of power for the Queen of Australia, why no Commissioner or Deputy Commissioner for Taxation has been lawfully appointed, a whole heap of things like that, why there's no head of power for the Royal Styles and Titles Act. So if you are a bit more advanced, you want to go beyond, this is a great CD because not only does it contain a ton of information from the corporate government themselves answering, which means you can use it as evidence against them because it's come from them, but it also, when they structure the responses, it refers to the question. So it teaches you how to correctly structure, an FOI request, how to send those questions correctly. All right. Now, another thing that's been really popular, because a lot of people don't really like reading through stuff and sifting through. They love watching things. So we do have our 4 DVD seminar pack. And as you can see on the back there, it covers all of those same chapters from the book, but it's a full recording of a full day live event that we've done covering all of those topics in detail. So if you want to sit there in the comfort of your own home and pause and rewind and fast forward and re-listen to chapters and sections, that is the best option for you, okay? And that is our seminar DVD pack. All right, so very quickly, I want to touch on the Aussie Speeding Fines book. So as I said, it is the blue book. All right, you'll find it at aussiespeedingfines.com. It's not on our website. It's a different website, different group, different book, different info. All right, so first and foremost is the history chapter. Okay, explains how we've been tricked into corporatising our name. We used to have private registration, which is a one-off fee for life. Now they've they still call it private registration, but it's in the commercial name, in the all caps name. Explains why your vehicle can never technically be unregistered, even if it's written off. It's registered as a write-off. So if you ever get a fine for an unregistered vehicle, it covers that. It covers a whole heap of really important background information that people need to know about licenses, how you've been deceived into applying for a driver's license. If you don't operate a motor vehicle or an automobile for money, for remuneration, for payment, then you're not required to have a license. And there's court cases in there that back all that up and all the rest of it. Okay, it explains why the road rules themselves that everybody seems to think they have to obey aren't even law. Now, we're not saying go out and drive like crazy, we're not saying that, but you need to know the facts. And the facts are that the rules are written in such a way that they tell you that they're not law. All of that info is covered in that first chapter. Okay, second chapter, what to do when you get pulled over. So when the blue and red lights come on, what do you say, what do you not say? What do you do, what do you not do? All of that is covered, okay, in that chapter. All right, then chapter 3, that is the key. That's the one that everybody's after. That is the simple 3-step process. Step 1, letter 1. Step 2, letter 2. Step 3, letter 3. Okay, it's all there. There's your first letter there. There's your second and third letters on page 24. Okay, so that simple step-by-step letter process is all outlined there for you. All right, then we've got the next chapter, which is what to do if you receive a ticket in the mail, as opposed to being pulled over on the side of the road. What processes, what steps, what letters do you use? And again, all of those letters come on the resources CD that comes with that book. Okay, and again, if you don't have a CD player, these guys can email you a copy of all those letters. All right, so all of the step-by-step stuff is in there. Okay, now if things progress, how to legitimately adjourn your case for a long time. Why is that important? Because every single state has a statute of limitation legislation, which means if it goes beyond a certain period of time before the matter goes to court, they're no longer legally allowed to pursue it. So this is a key chapter, how to drag your matter out, which again is super, super easy to do right now while we're still essentially in lockdown, because a lot of the courts are operating at half capacity, they're doing Zoom meetings, all the rest of it. So it's very easy to drag things out beyond that statute of limitations. All right, chapter 6, why speed camera, laser and radar readings are all fundamentally flawed. People have this misconception that they're accurate scientific devices, they're always right. No, they're generally wrong. They sometimes get it right. Okay, and there's information in here from the manufacturers themselves. Okay, all the relevant information on the MD5 algorithm. Okay, that's the one that they use when the camera takes a photo and sends it to you in a mail. Fundamental flaw with that. All of that stuff is explained, okay, in that chapter. Now, we've touched on this stuff before, but again, this is on page 49. The first source of interference, because it actually says there's too many sources of interference to mention. Okay, how they process the wrong frequency. All these things come out of the actual manufacturer's manuals themselves. Okay, so you really need to be aware of this sort of stuff. All right, and then should things end up in court, or should you be a little bit late to the party in getting that book? How to win your case in court, step-by-step process, what to say, what paperwork to file, how to raise arguments, all that stuff is covered in this chapter. All right, so again, very, very powerful. All right, and then there is also a chapter 9 bonus section, all to do with parking fines, the ins and outs of parking fines, how the roads have been created in fee simple, how we own them, we can't be charged to use them, all the things about the 1988 referendum, local councils who are usually the ones that issue those fines. So all of that is in that bonus chapter 9. So again, that is the blue Aussie Speeding Fines book, which you can find at aussiespeedingfines.com. All right, and finally, just very quickly, the Bank Secrets Revealed book. Okay, again, different book, different group, different website. You can find that at banksecretsrevealed.com.au. And of course, there is a link in the description. So first and foremost, again, they've got a background, the history of money, how money came about, going from the old, gold and gold lenders and paper certificates. It talks all about the reserve banks, the Federal Reserve, all the history of all of that. What happened to JFK when he tried to unplug from the Federal Reserve System. Explains what happened in Iceland when they successfully unplugged from the Federal Reserve System. So really, really good background information in there, and some really important court cases, including the Credit River decision. Okay, now chapter 2, the truth about the mortgage fraud. These guys break down step by step the exact process that the banks go through every single time they engage in a home loan, the actual fraud that they commit. Okay, and there's letters and everything in there that you can send to ask if your particular home loan could be one of the fraudulent home loans that's been created. So make sure you get that. Now, this is the key chapter again. This is your step-by-step process, wiping out unsecured loans. So if you've got a credit card, if you've got a personal loan that's not secured against anything, this is the chapter that you want. They explain the ins and outs of how that credit has been unlawfully created and what you can do. And again, here is the 4-step process. First step, okay? Second step, third step. It's all spelt out there. And then, of course, you've got your 4th step there. And that's for the banks or the lenders. And again, they've got another similar 4-step process for debt collectors. So if your debt's been sold off to a debt collector and you're being harassed by debt collectors, you've got the letters that you can send to them in there as well. Now, for those of you who are more advanced, they go into some really advanced stuff. Unilateral contracts, special purpose vehicles, privity of contract, and there's a super advanced letter that you can send that blows debt collectors out of the water. All of that's included, and again, comes with a document CD that has every single letter, every single link, every single court case, every single section of legislation. Everything comes on that CD. Again, if you don't have a CD player, I think they can email you a copy of them or a zip file or something as well. Okay, so that's all there. Again, these guys do touch on the straw man concept. Ours is a little bit more detailed, but they touch on it just to give people an understanding of what it's all about and, of course, how that relates specifically to banking. So, again, worth understanding. How to insure yourself against any contract. This one tip will protect you. They say, they give you this huge contract. They say, oh, go and read that and then sign it. Well, no one ever reads it. And then there's something that they hid in there on page 29 at the bottom. And you go, oh, but I didn't see it. They go, oh, well, ignorance of the contract is no excuse. Well, there's a strategy in here. There's one tip in here that can insure you against anything in any contract. Okay, very, very powerful chapter, worth the cost of the book just for that alone. Now, finally, bonus chapter 3, and this is so important, especially right now with what's going on in the world, and that is this push for a cashless society and how to stop it. Okay, this is key. They want to put chips in people's arms, so when they misbehave, they press the button, turn it off. This is what they're heading towards. We've all seen it out there in the various stores and shops and everything now. So that chapter deals with exactly that. So again, that's the green book, the Bank Secrets Revealed book that you can find on their website. And then finally, you'll find a link in the description also to the Great Australian Party. We urge you to go and have a look at that website, see what Rod Cullerton and the group are doing with the Great Australian Party, the new political party that is going to destroy all the other, two-party preferred system, and we are going to revert everything back to the way it was at Federation, back to that Commonwealth Constitution, and ensure that every single law that's in place now is reviewed and must be compliant with the Commonwealth Constitution, and anything that's not will be removed. It's going to take out your family court, which is one of the biggest cesspools of corruption in the entire country. It's going to take out all of your ridiculous rates and things like that. It's going to take out a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, remember, Rod was one of the guys who was behind the drafting, of that Royal Commission into banking. He was the one that helped draft the papers. Okay, so very, very powerful stuff there with the Great Australian Party. So please have a look in the description. Everyone goes, oh, where do I find the links to buy the books? They're in the description. Scroll up to the top of this video, whether you're watching it on Facebook or YouTube or BitChute or whatever. Scroll up to the description. You'll find the links there. But I want to make it clear, please understand the difference between the Know Your Rights book. Okay, that's the black one. All right, that's the black one. The Aussie Speeding Fines book, that's the blue one. And then the Bank Secrets book, all right, that's the green one. Different groups, different websites, different information. So hopefully that clarifies things for you. Jump onto those websites, because all those websites have got a ton of free information as well. So look through that. And then, of course, if you decide, yeah, this is great, I want to find out more about this, make sure you grab those books and really start learning about your rights. And as I say at the end of every video, we hope that people use this time. Again, we've got another weekend coming up. Okay, so use this time wisely. Use it to get informed, get fired up, and get proactive. All right, we'll talk to you all again on Sunday night. Thanks, everyone.